When we talk about the future of the internet, we almost always think of Silicon Valley, right? But what if I told you that one of the most radical movements to reshape the web is actually being led from somewhere completely different? Well, today we're digging into Canada's surprisingly bold blueprint for the internet's future. And this quote just hits it right on the head. The entire fight for a free and open internet is shifting. It's moving away from all the usual suspects. And the new frontline? It's somewhere most of us aren't even looking. This is really a story about power, about control, and about a vision for a totally different kind of digital world. So to really get what's going on, we first have to survey the battlefield. Because that original, beautiful promise of the internet, a borderless space for connection and information for everyone, that promise is genuinely under threat. And the core problem even has a name. People are calling it the splinternet. Some call it digital balkanization. But the idea is simple and honestly pretty scary. The single global internet that we all grew up with is at risk of fracturing into this patchwork of disconnected, nationally controlled networks, like a bunch of digital islands. So why is this happening? Well, it really boils down to three major forces that are pulling the web apart. You've got governments worried about national security. Then you have economic protectionism, where countries want to favor their own tech companies. And of course, there's the big one, the desire for ideological control. You put those three things together, and you've got this powerful trend that's literally building walls across the digital world. And this whole trend, this whole debate, it all revolves around one central concept, a term you're going to be hearing a lot more of: digital sovereignty. So, at its heart, digital sovereignty is just about a nation wanting to take control of its own digital destiny. It's about deciding how our data is handled, what laws apply online, and who physically controls the infrastructure inside its borders. But, and this is the key part, not all visions of digital sovereignty are created equal, not even close. And this really shows the fork in the road we're at. On one side, you have that protectionist model, which is all about control and isolation. Think of China's Great Firewall. But on the other side, you have Canada's open model, which is all about championing user rights, decentralization, and working together. It is a fundamental clash of philosophies for what the internet should even be. And here's what's so interesting. Canada's approach isn't just some tech policy they cooked up. It's actually rooted deep in their political identity. It comes from a long history of working with other nations, not against them. It's grounded in a deep respect for human rights, and it's all about trying to find that delicate balance between a country's own interests and the health of the global internet. Okay, so this brings us right to the core of Canada's solution. If the problem is that too much centralized control is breaking the internet apart, their answer is simple: move in the exact opposite direction. Let's go towards decentralization. The big goal here is really to rebalance the scales. Right now, the internet is dominated by a tiny handful of massive corporations, and increasingly by very powerful governments. A decentralized web aims to chip away at that power, to take it away from those central points of control and give it back to us, the individual users. So how are they actually planning to do this? Well, their blueprint really boils down to these three key steps. First, build everything with open standards that anyone can access and use. Second, you have to promote interoperability. That's just a fancy word for making sure different services can talk to each other, so we don't get trapped in walled gardens. And third, and most importantly, it's all designed to empower you, the user. And look, this isn't just a theory. It's being built with real technology. We're talking about the technical nuts and bolts here, things like open standards and interoperability protocols that let different platforms connect seamlessly. And yeah, even emerging tech like the blockchain can play a role in creating systems that don't need a single central boss. But here's the thing. A better internet just for Canada? That's not enough. For this vision to actually work, it has to be a global effort. It has to be for everyone. See, Canada gets it. The internet doesn't stop at the border, so they're not just putting these ideas into practice at home. No, they are on a full-blown diplomatic campaign to convince other like-minded countries to join them and build a real coalition for an open web. Of course, this is a massive uphill battle. I mean, the challenges are huge. You have to win over countries that have totally different priorities. You have to push back against the immense influence of big tech. And you have to fight this rising tide of digital protectionism. But the opportunities, building new alliances, setting new global standards, they are just as significant. And this diplomatic push isn't happening in some back room. It's happening on the world's biggest stages. Canada is out there championing its vision at the United Nations, within the G7, and at these key digital policy events like the Internet Governance Forum. They're trying to build a consensus, one conversation at a time. Okay, I know this has all been very high level, right? Global policy, diplomacy, tech architecture, but let's bring it right back down to earth. Because this whole debate has huge implications for every single one of us. For you. This is the question we all really need to be asking ourselves. This is not some academic exercise. The outcome of this fight, one way or the other, is going to directly shape what your online life looks like for decades to come. So what's actually at stake here? Honestly, everything. We're talking about your privacy and who gets to control your personal data. We're talking about your ability to speak freely online without somebody censoring you. And we're talking about your basic access to a global pool of information, art, and culture. And these are the two futures, laid out as clearly as possible. If the vision from Canada and its allies succeeds, we get a more open, more innovative internet where your data is actually yours. But if it fails, we are staring down the barrel of a future full of digital borders, where your data is trapped and a few powerful gatekeepers control everything you see and do online. And that leaves us with this one final critical question. The path we take right now will determine whether the internet becomes a true global commons that's open to all, or if it shatters into a collection of walled gardens. The battle for the future of the internet is happening as we speak. And believe me, the outcome is far from certain.